I'm from China. I grew up in the
I born in
southeast coast
Chile,
in the
but
Canton region.
I moved to Spain
Français,
when I was a
moitié français, moitié
child,
indien.
so I
Je
consider
viens
myself from
du
both
français,
Canada,
ma
parts
mère est
Québec
somehow.
indienne.
originalement.
Ils sont rentrés à
I
Dubaï,
came
puis
to
ils sont allés
Oulu
en
in
Ça
Thaïlande.
fait presque 10 ans
2018.
que je suis
Beaucoup
ici en
bougé.
Finlande et à Oulu toujours.
On a vécu donc Thaïlande,
I'm
Philippines,
Manx.
Indonésie.
I'm Jordanian.
Liban, on the Isle of Man.
Je suis français.
My father was
I
Irish.
originally came from the
I moved to
Philippines,
Finland
and
in
Then I'm from
2012.
Italy. I came here 2 years ago.
European Nordic countries are globally perceived as idyllic places that put emphasis on modernity, equality, well-being, freedom and trust. Finland in particular has ranked the happiest country in the world for the 7th time in a row this year. This blissful nation branding attracts foreigners and more specifically international talents who are actively enticed to join the Finnish labour market. Indeed, Finland experiences a shortage in many sectors due to its aging population and low birth rate. Therefore, in appearance, migration of foreign talents in Finland seems to be a reciprocal ideal arrangement, and Finnish society seems to constitute a nurturing environment for newcomers. However,
Like, you get these really silly, like, Finland for Finns kind of people.
yeah.
And it's just so ridiculous. And you just kind of, no matter what you bring up, no matter what you say, they're just going to hate you. I've had them where they tell me, like, just go back home, like, we don't want you here.
I think I just wanted to get out of Korea and came here, and apparently it's a really not a good decision, like people wise. I mean,
So when I came here, it was a shock. Like, either like the city, the culture, everything was like, as soon as I arrived, I was okay, I want to just run away.
Finland has a complex and prejudiced relationship to people of color. It benefits from a utopian reputation of being a peaceful and egalitarian country perceived as colonially innocent. However, a growing body of research reveals Finland's colonial complicity, meaning its participation in overseas colonialism. Finns adopted and spread colonial ideologies, established the Finnish Missionary Society, sent out settlers and missionaries into various parts of the world, and hosted live ethnographic exhibitions of colonized people. Finns have engaged in the creation, circulation, and consumption of colonial and colonialist ideas, knowledge, and imagery. These colonial endeavors constituted the grounds for the construction of Finnish national identity, with Africans constructed as the ultimate others to Finn, and this cultural representational colonialism is still vibrantly alive. Indeed, though Finland ranked the happiest country in the world, it also ranked country with the highest rate of racist harassment within the EU. White European and Finnish racial relations to people of color have been shaped by 5 main different patterns: infantilization and hindering, exoticism and appropriation, bestialization and exploitation, distancing and exclusion, invisibilization and exceptionalism. The process by which non-racialized people perceive and treat racialized individuals as children who need to be taken care of. This form of paternalism is meant to keep a minority in its place and to make them regard themselves as dependent on and grateful to the authorities. It also leads to hindering racialized individuals' growth, limiting their opportunities and access to resources.
Like if I think about my life when I was young and now, especially when I have like a clear self-consciousness, I think my life has been making progress. But after I came to Finland, I felt like this or this. So I wouldn't say positive, but I think, it's also a way for me to learn. It just doesn't feel like I am making progress so much.
I can say that for me it wasn't a nice experience.
I'm still satisfied with what I did under the circumstances of where I was, but I think I could have escalated much more, but maybe they just didn't want to.
Yeah.
Des trucs, ou une fois j'étais avec une de mes amies du Cameroun dans un bar, puis il y a un homme qui a donné un 2 euros, puis il dit on va t'acheter de la nourriture, ma belle.
The process by which non-racialized people regard and treat racialized individuals as fascinating, exciting, endearing, attractive with a hint of danger. This attitude is presented as positively intended. This process of romanticization, fetishization, and commodification of racial otherness is rooted in ethnocentric stereotyping in which the other is marked by difference. It also leads to the appropriation of racialized people's cultures, art forms and products, styles, practices and resources without experiencing the social racial discrimination they endure.
And related with the strangers, it has also been situations where I have been, harassed in the street. Yes, a lot. Not only like with verbal actions, but also like physically. Like I have been in parties in like daytime in the summer, and guys really, really wanted my attention. And I always say that I am like an easy target for this because I look different. I am smaller. I smile a lot, and a guy like taking my hair like this, To me, the problem, because I think assholes can be found everywhere, but to me, the main concern was that when that happened, my Finnish friends, who are considered them open-minded to this context, they say like, yeah, it's because you were smiling, or it's because he was drunk.
The process by which non-racialized people perceive and treat racialized individuals as non-human animals, beasts or devils, inferior, inhuman, dangerous, and unfit for anything but domestication. Through bestialization, racialized individuals are either regarded as cattle, pets, or wild animals that need to be tamed or domesticated to be approached, or have to be repressed or incarcerated. It also leads to exploiting vulnerable racialized individuals' intellectual, physical, and artistic skills to make a profit without compensation and acknowledgement.
Like my office with my colleague that I don't know, I think she had a breakdown And you could see her, how she changed throughout the years. And she would, stop and talk and have a coffee, blah, blah, blah. And then with time, she got so stressed out because she had no money for maybe 2 years. She didn't receive a salary for, I don't know, probably 2 years. That affected her so much. And then, and imagine that then the university always goes in their paper. So there is a huge exploitation because you're gonna publish, and then they publish, and the unit gets money, and then they are gonna defend their PhD, and the unit gets money. So like it's free labor for them. They don't pay anything, but they just get a lot.
The process by which non-racialized people design laws, social contracts, and cultural frames that exclude racialized individuals from true participation in society. Systemic discrimination, cultural marginalization, socioeconomic segregation, and social stigmatization are meant to perpetuate inequality and sustain racial hierarchies and social stratification. It also leads to distanciation from and isolation of racialized individuals.
But I was also in this weird situation where I was too brown to be white, but not brown enough to be actually brown. Once again, my life has always kind of been like this: of you fit between boxes, you don't fit in boxes, and that can get a bit tiring sometimes, especially when you're rejected from both sides, essentially. But no, definitely being a brown person is definitely more challenging than being white in Finland, for sure. I think being anything except white is challenging in Finland.
The process by which non-racialized people purposefully ignore, overlook, or erase the socio-cultural contributions and presence of racialized individuals, rendering them socially invisible. Exceptionalism, on the other hand, acknowledges only a few model individuals who conform to dominant norms, reinforcing stereotypes about other members of a racialized group. It also leads to differentiating among racialized individuals through hierarchical categorization based on origins, skin color, gender, religious beliefs, socioeconomic status, etc. This stratification assigns unequal social value.
You go out drinking, or you're outside and it's a drunk person who hears you speaking in a foreign tongue, and they take offense. Like, I've had a few of that, but I've not had it in any way, shape, or form as bad as some of my friends who, unfortunately, who because of their skin color or other factors, they are immediately targeted by these people.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get it as long as I don't speak. I can get away with being a Finn.
Yeah.
You know,
physically.
Physically, I can get away with being a Finn, and I think that has, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for Finland as a whole, has sort of benefited me more than my friends.
Yeah, when you have a lot of Finnish people not even acknowledging your presence, it can be a bit complicated sometimes. You definitely lose a feeling of self-worth as well, I guess. It can get complicated for sure. I think my time in Finland was probably the most depressed and low self-esteem time I've had in my life, for sure. Which is not fun, but that's also why I left.
I mean, I think these 2 years have been very difficult sometimes. I even have the idea that I don't want to continue with my life. I don't see the point. But
I'm like, okay, either I'm gonna help myself or I'm gonna kill myself. So I'm gonna help myself.
We can free ourselves from these oppressive patterns through 5 main modes of emancipation toward collective liberation: agency and mobility, cultural reclamation, intersectional resistance and allyship, community and self-care, representation and visibility. The process by which racialized people reclaim their societal, emotional, cultural, and political agency through various tools including digital technologies, enabling them to navigate and transform structures of inequality. By exercising agency, they challenge oppressive systems, advocate for their rights, enact self-determination, and create opportunities for social, economic, and geographic mobility. Fostering mobility and translocality allows for the emergence of multi-directional and overlapping networks that facilitate the circulation of people, resources, practices, and ideas.
This is something that I observe with many other Latin American peers, at least, that we come from countries and so on that we don't born with these opportunities, we don't have them. So I think that in general we are hard workers, so we take as much as we can. And it's if people say immigrants are stealing your jobs, it's it's true. If you don't take it, I'm gonna take it, for real.
Saying that something that helped me a lot, especially at the beginning, was that I could travel a lot. I don't know, having this kind of break and taking distance from the country somehow helped me with.
The process by which racialized people engage in cultural reclamation by revitalizing, reappropriating, and promoting their traditional practices, languages, and histories. This process involves resisting objectification and appropriation by asserting control over their cultural narratives. By joining global movements of indigenous and racialized peoples, they collectively reclaim their identity, culture, land, and resources, fostering solidarity and collective empowerment.
when I was like in very difficult times, I found calling my parents helpful because they give me different encouragement, and because here I'm surrounded by Westerners, people who think in Western ways, and my parents, they tell me something that's very Chinese, and I think it's very useful for me to like different wisdoms or life lessons or different things I can do, or like different qualities I should try to have that people here, they will not tell me because it's a very different culture.
The process by which racialized peoples achieve intersectional resistance, addressing overlapping oppressions based on race, gender, class, religious beliefs, and other identities. This resistance, combined with allyship from non-racialized individuals, fosters solidarity and mutual and horizontal support. By recognizing and challenging systemic inequalities, such alliances amplify marginalized voices, promote equity, and uplift otherwise invisibilized and oppressed individuals and communities.
LGBTQ pride events, I went there, and it's true that I felt some kind of connections because they are marginalized. So when you arrive there, even though if you're not like from the LGBT community, you just go here to have fun and to talk with people, and people talk with you and people have fun. So I think people who are marginalized, even though they are Finnish, for instance, share something specific with marginalized person. So there is a lot of sharing and respect. Even politically, I think it's like some common goals to achieve. The problem is like this society is like patriarchal and white and heterosexual. The more far you are from that, the more you felt connected like with each other.
The community-driven process by which racialized people create supportive networks, share resources, and practice self-care by creating safe spaces and establishing boundaries. These translocal communities provide emotional support, affirm sociocultural and multidimensional identities, and counteract systemic discrimination, thereby enhancing racialized individuals' mental health and well-being. By transferring knowledge and sharing lived experiences within these communities, individuals build resilience, foster collective healing, and strengthen their bond and sense of belonging.
We made the foreigners group because I know I've had a few people who are in that group who have reached out and said that it's been very positive for them.
Yeah.
So that there's this sort of group we're a whole bunch of foreigners, and everyone sort of seems to help each other out. And now there seems to be this sort of natural growth. I didn't want it to be like a sort of strict organization, but I wanted it more to be like, here's something for people who are in the same position to get together so that you...
The process by which racialized people engage in representation and visibilization of themselves and their peers by sharing their successes and hardships, thereby positively influencing perceptions of self-worth, identity, and capabilities. Through media, arts, science, interpersonal and public discourse, racialized individuals challenge stereotypes and assert their presence. This process fosters social recognition, validates diverse experiences, and empowers individuals, contributing to enhanced mental health and societal participation.
But also because of my behavior, I talk to people, so yeah, I was not afraid to go with this group of persons or this group of persons, I think. But yeah, the fact that I was a non-white foreigner in the jazz scene, because to be honest, I think I was the only one. Wow. So yeah, people could just see me. This is crazy.
I feel that even though there have been attempts to take my happiness away, I'm still happy. And maybe many people don't like that, but I'm fucking happy.
I'm happy to see that you are finding your way to keep your joy and your happiness despite the challenges, Like, to me, this is a form of resistance, This is a real form of resistance and of revolution. Is not to change who you are and not to become less joyful or less smiley or these things. I think this is part of the resistance of non-white people.